Welcome to our Domino webinar today. I am your host, Dan Allen, Product Marketing Manager for the Domino portfolio, and I'm delighted to tell you that today we have two of our most senior product managers for the Domino portfolio, representing both the server and client, Mr. Thomas Hampel and Mr. Tim Clark. And guys, take it away.
Thanks, Dan. Oh man, starts with a bit of a frog in his throat already. So cool. Hello everyone, welcome, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. It's fantastic to have you. The last time that Dan sent me the list of people joining us, there was over 82 countries represented. So thank you to wherever you are joining us from. We welcome you with open arms into our early access program for Domino 14. Let's just get right into this and start with a bang and just tell you who we are. Thomas, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, greetings to all of you out there. I'm Thomas Hampel, I'm the product manager for the Domino server, and the city that you can see right behind me is the city of Dresden. So greetings from Germany out to the world.
Fantastic. I'm not in Dresden, I'm in the UK. I live near an airfield called Farnborough that hosts an international air show every other year. But yeah, I'm sat at home. I don't have a fancy green screen like Thomas, so we'll just carry on, right? So yes, we're both product managers for Domino, the Domino family. So Thomas looks after the servers, I look after the clients, but that also includes for me things like Verse and Nomad. So we have a great portfolio of products, and we're going to share our vision for what we're going to do in Domino 14 and what we've actually got for you to test and look at and try and poke and prod and see what you can get from our Domino 14 early access program release 1.
For which we are prepared. At least we are both dressed up the same way. Tim?
Yeah, we both have our t-shirts on. Yeah. So the themes for Domino 14 are really quite powerful when you look at them. They are really strong themes that we've been aiming towards. But when you look at aiming towards something, you have to take a look back and reflect on where you've been to make sure you're going in the right direction. So we look at this as when we took over as HCL, when we took over the Notes and Domino portfolio back in the middle of 2019, what we did is we started pushing really hard on this portfolio of products and this software, and we've actually delivered this will be our 4th release when we get this out at the end of the year. So we'll have delivered 4 releases, strong releases to the market since we took it over. Now that's good progress, but that progress wouldn't be anything without us focusing on what we want to achieve. So what we're focusing on for Domino 14 is we want to empower our users. We want to give you the best of the best, and we want to make sure that you've got all the tools that you need right at your fingertips. So for the end users, we're making sure that you've got an efficient group calendar in what the Intravision guys can provide us from their on-time group calendar. Now that is a fantastic market-leading group calendar that we could not have done ourselves with the amount of skill and expertise and years of experience that those guys have put into it. So we've taken the best of breed, and we've had a chat with the Intravision guys, and they've said yes, you can have a free version. We'll limit it to 50 users, but you can try it for 50 users, take it, use it, have it, and then people can extend it and expand it into their enterprise if they find it useful, which is a fantastic thing for our customers. Best of breed software, fantastic functionality for free from a vendor, which is awesome. We've built in mail merge now, so you'll see that in the slides. Excuse me for a second. You'll see that in the slides that we've built in mail merge now. It's a feature that's been asked for a long time. It's one of our highest ranked features in the Notes client in the AHA Ideas portal, and we're delivering that. And we're actually delivering that in AAP1, so you can go and try that yourselves. And then we're trying to make sure that the workspace that everybody uses is available and is available for everyone to use and clean up and tidy up. So we've got some tools coming for the workspace that will allow you to shift things around, like drag and drop for the workspace tabs, and finding icons that aren't used anymore, or that don't exist on the server that you thought they were on, so we can clean up your workspace really easily for you. Thomas, do you want to take us through the Modernize Your Toolset, please?
Yeah, but I think we have breakout slides that explain this in more detail. So I'm just tapping on the titles here. So clearly version 14 is a big step forward. And the main mission is to modernize the toolset and make admin a breeze, meaning simplify how admins can use our product. There is more to explain, but like I said, we have breakout slides, but I think we first have to tell the audience what the early access program itself is and what to expect from it before we can dive into the more technical part of the show.
What a great idea, Thomas. Let's dig into what we're actually delivering in the early access program. So what is an early access program? So we've changed the name of it. It is a beta program. It is our code before we release it, allowing you to test it and make sure it works in your environment. It's really important for this particular release, and we'll get onto why in a minute. But not only do you get to test it, you get to give us feedback. And the feedback we want you to give us is all about telling us where things work, where things don't work, so that we can get it ready and get it fixed for you for our release at the end of the year. We will be doing 3 releases this year. One now, we'll be doing one in July, and then another one at the end of September, beginning of October. So you'll see more features becoming available when we get into those further drops, and we call them EAP1, EAP2, and EAP3. So if you see that terminology in and around the forum, or we talk about it on this webinar, that's what we mean. It's the early access program release 1, 2, and 3. So what's actually going to be in EAP1? Which features are we making available for you today? Well, here's the whole list of everything we're doing for you and all the stuff that you're going to get. If you'd like more information on each of these features, and we're not going to be able to cover all of them in the time that we have, we're going to pick our sort of the top most important ones, but you can search for that knowledge base article at the bottom there, 0105123, and you'll be able to find that in our support site and get more details on every single one of these features. So without further ado, there's a link to that knowledge base article. So you can just scan that QR code. I'll give you a couple of seconds to do that before we move into what we're actually going to do. So tick, tick. Okay, time's up. Brilliant. So hopefully you've all scanned that QR code. And now Thomas can tell us all about what we're doing in updating the core of our software.
Yeah. As Tim said, this is EAP1, so this is just the start of what's going to be done in version 14. And we are taking the first look at what to expect. Clearly, one of the key items in version 14 is that we are updating the core. It's the first time in years that we are taking an essential step to modernize the platform for growth and for having a viable environment for admins and developers to tap on. So updating the core requires a bit of a more technical explanation. So bear with me if I'm going into some of the bits and pieces that I want the audience to focus on when you try EAP1. Just can you advance to the next slide, please? There you go. So key item is we are upgrading the core in form of we are upgrading the compilers that we are using to build our products. Well, that is great news. It's great news for us because it allows us to use the latest features of the compilers in our product, but it also is great news for all the business partners and developers out there who are building add-on products for our product, because you can now use developer tools like Microsoft's Visual Studio 2022 for developing your C API add-ons. However, it comes along with a trade-off, and that's especially the case for our Linux dependencies, because by using latest compilers, we are, as you probably know, we are building our product on the Red Hat platform, meaning on RHEL. And when compiling our source code, we are dependent on a library called glibc. So we are using the latest version of Red Hat, and that comes with glibc 2.34. And that will be the entry level of running Domino. So that means if your Linux distribution is not providing that version of glibc, Domino version 14 will not run. Now, in the list of Linux distributions that we are compatible with, that will first and foremost be of interest to our SUSE Linux community, because the current SUSE distribution out there currently does not provide that version of glibc. We reached out to SUSE. Of course, they are a friendly crowd, and they said that even in the upcoming version, which is 15.5, this is not planned to be included. So by the time we are releasing version 14, please expect that this will not work on SUSE Linux. However, good news is, as soon as SUSE is including the required version of glibc, the expectation is it will just work. Of course, we will have to do proper testing, and we will keep you posted on that. But just for the sake of this EAP1, please be aware that SUSE Linux may be a bit of a difficulty here. Next slide, please. So diving into details, good news, like I said, is we're getting upgraded compilers, but we are also getting all true 64-bit clients. Hey, this is great news for all of us, but it also means that when you upgrade from a previous version of Domino, from a previous version of the Nodes clients, first and foremost, you need to take a closer look at any third-party add-ons that you have deployed in your environment. On the server side, for instance, those are server add-in tasks that have been developed for a previous version of Domino. You want to make sure to test the compatibility with version 14, or at least reach out to the vendor and ask if they have a compatibility statement already. Business partners, of course, are hopefully on this call here and are looking forward to test their product with the new version of Domino. But also on the client side, make sure that you test any of the code that has been written for your applications, especially Office integration source code that you may have written, or extension managers in your Nodes client, which, for instance, are tools like antivirus of some sort running in your Nodes client. I'm not talking about antivirus on the server, which is a different story. Well, in the journey of going to a 64-bit environment and upgrading our core, I also have to openly talk about certain things that we may not include in an upcoming version. And that, for instance, is the case for the admin client. Within the admin client, there are two specific features, two specific items that leverage some code that we may or may not bring across. So the question is to all of you whether you want to have that, and that's exactly the feedback we're expecting from EAP1. The components I'm talking about is the statistics charts that you can find in the admin client, and also this little, what's it called, a dial that's showing the current mail routing status. The information itself is still retained. However, the graphic, meaning this dial, is no longer being provided. At least that's the current proposal. So we'd like to hear from you whether that's okay or whether you want to have exactly that representation. Again, that's a call to action to try out the version 14 clients. Let's move on to something even more exciting for our developer community out there. So next slide, Tim, please. Which is, drum roll, we are upgrading our Java engine. We're upgrading to JDK version 17. For those of you who may not be familiar with the Java bits and pieces, currently Domino is running on Java version 8, or 1.8 as it says. And by going to version 17, we are just taking the latest that's available out there. We are tapping on the long-term support release so that you can use this version for quite a bit and rely on our platform. that's actually the technical basis for also upgrading our Eclipse engine to a much more current version, which is 4.22. And this upgrade is done in the client as well as in the designer client and in the XPages world, where I'm sure our Java developers out there will really appreciate these improvements. I have a small video on the next slide showing a few of the enhancements. So let's play that so that you can see how it works out. In the designer client, there is settings for what JDK version you want to use, and the default is version 17. So when you create an application here for testing, let's create a class for testing. What you can now use is the syntax and the enhancements that were added into the Java 17 version, for instance, multi-line strings and others, as you can see here. However, the Java language also provides something called preview features, which is something that may come in a future version of Java. And if you want to use that, you see, if you want to use these features, they'll turn into a red error. And in order to use these preview features, I actually have to go into settings and actively enable this checkbox saying enable preview features of Java 17. And with that being done, you can use the really latest and greatest enhancements of the Java stack. So next slide, please, Tim. So in essence, the message is we're making a big jump forward from Java 8 to Java 17, because if you look at the lifetime of Domino version 14, Java 8 is not going to be around. Even though there may be some people out there who may be fine with using Java 8, I think the more appropriate one is to go straight away to Java 17. That all in all provides much better performance for not only our stack, but also the applications that you are running. It provides smaller memory footprint, and good news for developers is that you can finally use code examples that you may find in other repositories or may find in like community sites out there where the source code already leverages Java 17 as a basis. So all in all, we are modernizing the Domino platform for better apps to be built by you. Now, like I said, we need to also ask you to test and try out the early access code drop 1 because you need to validate that your code runs fine in these conditions. So things to especially watch out for are any specific Java security settings you may have applied to your environment, any Java that you may have in an application, any jar files you have deployed or OSGI plugins, those you want to test explicitly. Also, there are two features which I'd like to ask for some feedback because they were not appreciated by the Java community. And so I need to ask how our customers are currently using these features. And I'm talking about SOAP, and this is SOAP outbound and DIIOP as being the inbound protocol. We'd like to hear from you how you use these features, if you use them. So you may scan that QR code down there and provide us some feedback. Actually, we have the QR code, I think, at the end of the slide deck. So if the screen is too small for you, we can get back to it. So next slide, please. So for developers, that's by far not everything. There's more to come, just a small few bits here of updates we've done. So for instance, in the Domino directory, the internet password is now leveraging SHA-256 for hashing the password, or we've added some improvements to the Domino query language to render DQL queries into views. So that's a LudoScript enhancement. And development asked us to especially call this out because there were a few help desk tickets out there already about the 64-bit clients having had issues with long arrays in LudoScript. That's no longer an issue, so that has been fixed. So thanks to that, thanks to development for having done that. All right, so that was a sneak peek into the developer side of things. Now switching topic to the admin side of the world. You know that Tim and me, we're looking after ideas that are coming into the AHA ideation platform. And overall, we found hundreds of ideas and votes that were asking about modernizing the admin client. So for instance, administrators using a Mac client to do their administration. Currently, that's not possible because on a Mac, you have to start a virtual machine to run the Domino admin client because it's Windows only. People were asking to provide more flexibility, more simplicity. And with version 14, we like to do that. That's why we have introduced at the last Engage conference, we've already introduced the Admin Central. Admin Central is a new, well, as the name says, central for administrators, with the design principles being a user interface for the common admin tasks. It's not supposed to be a complete replacement of the admin client. It's not supposed to be providing all the bits and pieces, but the most essential and most common administrative tasks. However, one of the design principles was that whatever this is, it will need to run anywhere. It needs to run in a browser, it needs to run in a mobile device, it needs to run in the Notes client, and preferably on any platform of your choice. So what we did is, well, we just used our own products. We just used our own technology. So can you just advance the slide? So there is a picture flying in. Okay, there it is. So Admin Central is actually a Domino application which allows Domino administration really without any prerequisites. And since it is a Domino application, it works from your existing Notes client on Windows on Mac, but it also works from Nomad. That means you can run it in a web browser and you can run it on an iPad, such as me here in this video, opening up Nomad and registering a new user just from an iPad, from being on the run, being on the go. I hope you can see that. The video, at least over here, comes across a little bit blurry, but it's okay. So I'm registering a user, Paul Test, and what it will do, it will automatically send a request to the server. The server will execute it, and it will create the person document, as you can see here. But there's more than that. It will also create a Notes ID in the ID vault. So compared to what you had to do in the past with a certifier, document, passwords that an admin had to provide, all of that is gone. So registering users, managing users is really much more simple compared to what it used to be before. Next slide, please. I know that there are people out there who, Tim, next slide. There you go. I know that there are people out there synchronizing Domino with an Active Directory to get user information straight away from Active Directory. Nevertheless, you need to register user IDs, and Admin Central is making that easier than it was ever before. So play. Tim, I think you need to click. No, I think you need to start that video directly. Sorry about that. So if you have set up your Domino environment to sync with an Active Directory, you will get the list of users that were synced in, and you can select which of them you want to register as a Domino user. Submit that into a queue. You can then decide if you want to process just one user out of the entire list or just all of them combined. So here in this case, I'm using Katie as an example, submitting the request, and same process applies. It will create a person document, and it will also register an ID file. All completely seamless and all from an iPad. Isn't that great? All right, so talking about administration, I think there is a bit more to unpack. Let me just see where we are on time. Yeah, so Admin Central in this case is an EAP 1, the first iteration. And we would like to hear from you how you like this tool, how you would like us to evolve it. We do have a few ideas. For instance, we'd like to include group management in the product. We'd like to include a live console for administrators to quickly get access to the server console. We may also want to include database management or maybe some statistics for admins. But at the end of the day, it's all about you. It's what you ask us to do. So that's why we want you to go to our ideas portal and tell us what you are expecting from Admin Central to be provided next. All right, switching gears. So that was administration, user administration, but when talking about the Domino server, there is more. So let's introduce this in a, how to say, direct way, that in the past, Domino administrators had a pretty easy life, because their common mantra in the past was never touch a running system, because, you know, if you don't touch it, nothing can go wrong. Now, unfortunately, time has moved on, and if you don't touch your running system, what about security actually? Because I mean, you all read the news, you all read IT newspapers, and today, with the current technology out there, any existing vulnerability can be turned into an exploit in sometimes like 5 minutes or less. So doing nothing will actually expose you to vulnerabilities and makes your environment less sustainable. So, and that's why software patching is the solution. Now, there are research institutes out there that have surveyed IT companies, surveyed customers, and they found that in average in the IT industry, it takes more than 100 days to apply a patch for, apply a fix for a piece of software that exists. 102 days. Imagine, I mean, this is a huge time frame. Even critical patches are taking about 16 days to be applied. So this is unbelievable, an unbelievable long time which you have an environment being vulnerable. All in all, according to statistics from eWeek that was done, I think last year, just by doing the needful, we would be able to, the customers would be able to avoid 80% of avoidable data breaches and failed audits just by applying patches that exist out there. Now, in the Domino world, well, in the IT world, the solution is DevOps. And DevOps works great if you are in control of the entire chain, but in case of us, we need your support in order to provide the end-to-end connectivity here, because we're building great software. We are making sure the code is tested. We are making sure we do everything we can for a product release to be of high quality. But at the end of the day, it is your responsibility to deploy the product, to install the updates, install the fixes as we provide them, and then, of course, operate it. Now, how's that going along? I mean, today, what you can do is, well, finding out when a new fix is available. And how would you do that? You can subscribe to an HCL newsletter. You could look at HCL's social media presence and our posts there to see whether a new fix was posted. Or you could check FlexNet daily. Alesh, greetings. I know that people in the community are doing that. Alesh being one who is very active on Twitter and clearly being really fast on tweeting it out when we've supplied a new patch. But checking our download portal on a daily basis isn't really a sustainable business. I mean, you have better things to do. However, if you know that there is a patch out there, you still have to download it. And then once you've downloaded it, you still have to apply it, either completely manually or through some automation, for instance, using HCL's Big Fix tooling. But there is good news. Domino version 14 is approaching a new new era here. We are providing you with an optional feature that you can activate if you want for update notifications. The idea behind is that any modern software will tell the customer that there is a new version around. So not just what we're telling you that there is a new version or that there is a new fix pack, we also provide you with the details of what are the changes in the product, where to find the what's new information, where to find the fix list, and so on. So this is a feature in EAP1 that we want you to test out. There is another screenshot on the next slide, Tim, showing the where to find this product information. We have enhanced the Domino directory template for product update information to be visible to all your servers in the domain. We also enhanced the admin client to make that information really being available to all of your admins. But that's just the first iteration out of a larger idea, which is to tap on automatically upgrading your environment if you want to do that. So the first step here is being aware or getting to know that there is a new version, and that functionality is already in EAP1. Next slide, please. Tim, thank you. We are also providing you with a database called autoupdate.nsf that throughout the upcoming early access code drops will be advanced. So that's a database in which customers will be able to select what version of Domino, what type of products, what type of platforms they would like to be notified about. They also will be able to control the ability to download software packages automatically, and later on also intending to schedule or configure how you want to upgrade your servers. Can you advance the two other screenshots that we have on this slide, please? Here you go. So you see the software information is there, and also you have the information of what is currently installed in your environment and what upgrade sequence you'd like to use. However, auto upgrade is not part of EAP1, so the feature that you can test is auto notification. I hope you like that, and I hope you're giving us feedback because we really want to know how you like that, whether or not we are interested in auto downloading software updates to your server. Of course, this is all opt-in only, so you have to activate this if you want to use this feature. Auto update will be capable of even distributing software packages within your Domino servers and then scheduling updates of your environment. Again, call to action is go to our ideas portal, let us know what you think. Especially tell us, what do you think about including Verse, Nomad, or even the Notes client in this update story? We'd like to hear from you. I think we have that QR code listed again at the very end. And for the sake of time, I think we have to move on. Also new on the server side, on the Domino server, is a new feature that you've asked for, which is inbound message disclaimers, which is when you receive an email, you get the option to insert this red text here into the body of an email. That is configurable by an admin. The admin can go to the server configuration document in router SMTP, and the screenshot that you see down there. You can configure how, or well, if it's going to be added, how it is added, and of course, you have the option to configure the text and also provide some HTML tags to make it look good. Further improvements are one-touch setup. So business partners are especially interested in automating their deployments, and because you asked for it, we deliver the ability to create response documents, which is important when creating website and rules for websites. We have added the ability to create replicas, and you also are able to register additional Domino servers by their name in an auto config file. The biggest and probably most interesting addition to version 14 is that we would like to include add-on products in Domino. And that means Verse, Nomad, and OnTime are going to be there when you install Domino. So you don't have to download Verse anymore. It's just there. So it makes life a lot easier for those who want to deploy those add-on products. I think I have just a few more slides about admin that we have to go through, and then I'll need to hand it over to Tim. A few bits that need to be mentioned here are the admin client. In the admin client, the files column is now showing human readable file sizes. And if you want to know about the encryption state or encryption strength of a database, you can customize the columns that are displayed in the admin client with the this information. I also have to call out for action here because version 14 is applying an architectural change which will affect Windows admins. And that's for the Domino server. So when you're installing Domino on your server, the nodes INI, the nodes INI was typically located in the program directory of your Windows server. That is no longer the case and will no longer work. So the nodes INI must be located in the data directory. There is a documentation for that. And I'm saying that so clearly because that's a change for Windows admins. It's not a problem for Linux because in the Linux world, the nodes INI has always been in the data directory. So with that, just a few bits and pieces here on security. There's quite a lot that our security team did, improving our OpenID Connect story with the ability to log out. We added a bearer authentication support for customers that want to use this in combination with Azure AD and ADFS. Upgrade internet passwords I talked about. And last but not least here on this slide is an improvement in our security policy for defining what ID file encryption strength you want to use. So if you are in a Domino environment and you're running that environment for a number of years, it may be worthwhile to upgrade this to a more current setting. So take a look into this, try it out. And with that, I think I'll need to hand it over to Tim to cover the Nodes client side of the show.
Thanks, Thomas. I have been changing the slides, honestly. It's just there seems to be a bit of a lag in what you see. So I'm sorry for any confusion. Right, let's crack on into the Notes client then. And let's hope you see what I'm talking about. So,
no, Tim, I think, at least for me, screen share went away. Oh. I think we have to call for support from our moderator, from Dan. Can we get the screen share back? There you go. We're back.
Okay, I don't know why that failed. Right, can you still see it?
Now we can see it.
Okay, cool, brilliant. So as Thomas pointed out, we are going to be doing in Domino 14 64-bit clients. Now, the underlying message of that, and we want to call this out really clearly, is that the 32-bit clients will not be shipped with Domino 14. So there will be no 32-bit basic or standard clients for Notes. But don't panic, because if you do need the Notes basic functionality and you don't need everything that's included in Notes standard, you could consider, and you should consider, using HCL Nomad. And there's a couple of benefits to using HCL Nomad as well. One is that it can run on Linux. The second is that it runs on mobile devices, so you can run it on your Android or iOS tablets and phones, but also that it's available everywhere for you on all of the places you want, and there's no install on the browser. So when you run this in a browser, you don't have to install anything. So the IT department don't have to deploy a Notes client anymore. They can just send you to a URL, having set it up on the server, and you're all good to go, ready to rock and roll. Now, I've been using this quite a lot recently, and I have to say, it's extremely useful to be able to get to my Notes client wherever I am and do stuff while I'm out of the office on my mobile, or if I'm just sat at home on the sofa and not at my desk. So it's really, really useful to be able to get to this and do my work when I'm not sat right in front of my desktop. Moving that forward, we're not ignoring the Notes client at all. We are doing a bunch of features to push that forward. And one of the things that we want to do is make things simpler for users. So the preferences in the basic Notes client configuration, as you can see here, we've added some categories to each of the options and we've given them all a number. So that should make it easier for you to find things in that list, and also for you to be able to get help if you need it, or for support people to be able to tell you which options to turn on and off. So another thing that we've done is that we're trying to make things a lot simpler. You've been able to do delayed delivery for a while in Notes for mail, but we've now got this button very, very visible, the send later button, which allows you this nice little dialogue to be able to send a mail very, very quickly, as always, but you can delay when it gets sent. That has to be enabled. It's enabled by default, but it has to be enabled through a delayed delivery policy. Now, one of the things that the developers have asked us to call out, and it's not normal that we put error messages into what's in an early access program slide, but you may have seen these error messages if you've overfilled a field with data. But hopefully, with the doubling of the field size for our designers and developers, hopefully now that we've got 64K field sizes, you shouldn't see these errors, or if you do, you've got certainly a lot of data inside these fields. So hopefully you won't see these anymore, and you'll be able to get on and keep working. We're also adding SNI support in the Notes client, and if you're not familiar with what SNI is, because it's a fairly niche technical thing, it's server name identification. So if you've got more than one web service or server or whatever running on a single machine from the same URL or the same IP address, then what can happen is you can not get the resource that you wanted because the server won't know which piece of the software that's running on that server to actually point your request to. So with SNI, that server request that you put in there's a bunch of stuff embedded in that request to tell it which particular service on that machine to go to. So you should see things like images that you load in your mail file. They should load more obviously, and that will be an obvious way of you seeing that this is working. We now have in the Notes client, in EAP1, you now have the ability to do mail merge. So you're able to do from the new menu in your mail, you can do new mail merge, and that will allow you to import an Excel file, and you'll be able to map those fields across where you want the information to go, the copy and the subject. And you'll be able to pick up and send to a group of users instantly from your Notes client. We know that that's been asked for a very long time, but we're making sure that you've got that available to you. So that's all great. That's fantastic stuff that we've got that we want you to test. But I can hear a whole bunch of you saying, well, that's all good. How do I take part? And how do I, where do I go? What do I do to join in? Well, the first thing we want you to do, if you're an admin, we've been running a survey of our Domino admins. I mean, Thomas alluded to this earlier. Our servers don't ever call home, which is why for the auto update thing, you have to turn it on to make it call us and find out if there's a new version. But we need to know, we'd love to know what you're doing with your environments as an admin. So if you are administering Domino servers, please tell us what you're doing so that we know what features to develop and where we need to focus our attentions. The information that you give us will help us make good decisions for the future for you. So it's important that you take part in this survey. The early access program, as I said earlier, it started yesterday, actually on the 31st of May. So you've got drop 1 now, you'll get drop 2 in July and drop 3 in October. The way that you give us feedback is you go to this forum, and you'll see that this forum is actually a discussion database enhanced with X pages with a few extra pieces. and you can give us the feedback, tell us things that you've found, tell us things you like, tell us things you don't like, and tell us what you actually think of the product and the features that are working and not working for you. This is the way that you get involved, absolutely. And I can assure you that the developers are reading through this forum. The guys who are writing the code and putting in fixes are reading through this forum every day and responding directly to you. So it's a really great way of getting involved and getting into contact with the developers and allowing you to give us your feedback. Now, I've got a small video here of something else that's really quite exciting, is that you don't actually always have to go to FlexNet to get your download code. You can now go to our new downloads portal, and when you click on when you've signed into your downloads portal with your FlexNet ID, you'll be presented with this, where you can see that you can get your Domino 14 EA1 drop and associated supporting resources. You can see that it's all there ready for you to download. You've got some checksums over there on the right and a download link as well. So everything's there for you to download. It's really simply laid out. We've tried to make it so that you've got all the information you need in the right place, even links to things like what's new in Domino 14. So we hope you give us feedback on that particular download portal as well. It would be really good for you to tell us what you think of that. And you know, the team that have written that are going to be reading that feedback too. The feedback we've had already on that has been fantastic. The people that tried it yesterday said it was brilliant. So please go and try that, see what you think of it, and tell us what you like and don't like about that too.
Tim, I think we need to mention that at this present or this time, the download portal will only show the early access code top 1.
Yes. Yeah, eventually it will have all products in it from HCL Software. That's the plan. But right now they're beta testing their portal in our Domino beta test. So please join in. Please take a look at it and tell us what you think of that. So I think we have time for questions. We've got 11 minutes. So are there any questions that we should answer? I think, Annalyn, you've been scouring the questions, right? Is there anything we should answer here?
Well, I will say this, Tim and Thomas, we had a couple that said, will Domino 14 be supported on IBM Power Hardware and IBM i7.5?
Yes, it will be supported. There was a similar question that customers asked if Domino 12 will be supported on Power Hardware, and that testing is currently going on, and customers should expect an update in the next couple of weeks.
And the next question is, what happened to Domino 13? I think the answer there is it's an unlucky number.
Well, nothing happens to it. We decided, well, we did a bunch of research actually to investigate whether that's a good idea or not. And what we discovered was that in some cultures that doesn't work. It's not a particularly good thing for us to do. So we decided not to. So in the decision to take the first version number of our product up, and the reason we wanted to do that is because there are massive architectural changes, as you've seen. The compiler and Java and Eclipse and everything are upgrading, so we wanted to make sure that people understood that this is a big change. We decided we needed to upgrade the numbering, so we've gone from 12, and as you've seen, we've gone to 14 because we didn't want to offend anybody by using the number 13. We didn't think that was fair. So we've skipped, but we're going to 14, and we're happy with that decision, and we've got good feedback about it so far. So we're going to continue down that path.
It accounts for the big amount of improvements the development team made by building the version 14 release. So with that, let's say thank you to all the developers in our team, HCL out there. You've did great work for having EAP1 released, and we are now waiting for customers to try it out and provide feedback.
And I have to say the forum blew up yesterday. Thomas and I were both at the Czech user group yesterday. I had the pleasure of being there to talk to our users in the Czech Republic. And we were sat there watching the forum go go bananas. It was really good fun to watch all the comments and stuff coming in. But yeah, please join in. Please download from the new download portal or from FlexNet, whichever you're comfortable with, and then give us that feedback. Dan, any more questions?
Yeah, well, they commented on your shirts. They really liked them.
We like them too.
Where they could order these.
Oh,
So,
really? All right.
yeah,
Well, hang on. I'm going to ask you, Dan. When are we going to make HCL software shirts available?
I have to look into that. I'm not sure if they're available for yet, but I'll check into that and we'll reply to that in the email that goes back out to follow up. Okay. And I don't have one of those shirts either, by the way. So I don't know. So it says V14 ETA. So when will V14 be released?
So the EGA, as we call it, the electronic gold availability of the gold version of the software, is scheduled for the end of the year. So we can't be more precise than that at the moment because we're a bit too far away from it. But as we get closer, we'll be able to give you a better understanding of when that will be.
Yep, so that was it. And also the V14 EAP forum, which we just talked about, I think this must have been earlier. I guess they wanted to know when would that be available, but I think you've already.
That's available now.
It's now.
Yeah, you can get into that right now. The URL, I'll just go back to that. There you go. The URL for that is here. So it's domino14-EAP-forum, and that's using our shortcode server, hclsoftware.co.
And all the downloads are live. And to reemphasize that statement, you don't have to sign up for the early access program. All you need is to be a current customer of ours, and you will have the ability to download the latest EAP1 code.
Correct.
So another question is, how is Eclipse 4.6 to 4.2 an upgrade?
Because between the number 6 and the number 22 is quite a few releases. So it's not 4.2.2, it's 4.22 and not 4. Well, it's 4.0, whatever. Read it up in the Eclipse documentation. 22 is much bigger than 6.
So the other thing is that the 4.22 version also supports Java 17, which is why we're going to that particular version of the Eclipse. The previous version 4.6 doesn't support Java 17. I'm getting confused with my numbers now. So that's why we're actually upgrading Eclipse as well at the same time. But yeah, 6 to 22 is quite a jump.
And another question was, does this mean that upgrading V14 from RHEL8 will not work? Is RHEL9 the minimum version supported for V14?
I didn't quite get the version numbers. RL?
So is Red Hat 8 supported, Thomas, or does it have to be Red Hat 9?
No, it has to be Red Hat 9 because we're compiling on Red Hat 9.
Okay. We got that one, and we got time for a couple of others. So let's see. There should be glibs, I assume. With glibs. It says since Debian 12 is released next week, which should be glibc 2.36 compliant. So I'm assuming that Debian 12 with glibc is supported.
Anything higher than the minimum version of glibc that we have documented, which was 2.34, should work, even though Debian itself is not a platform that we are testing our product on. We provide a support statement saying, if your favorite Linux distribution of choice is providing these bare minimum versions of libraries, meaning glibc and STDCC, then you can run that Linux distribution with Domino. However, I need to underline this once more. Our team is only doing the full compatibility testing on the officially supported platforms. Others may run, but the community may need to help you out here.
Okay, we have another question that says, I just installed standalone v14 Domino on Red Hat. It says during the install that Verse is installed. Is there a comprehensive explanation on how to get this up and running in a few simple steps?
Yes,
So
see the documentation. Oh, Tim, you want to cover that?
So for Verse, what we're doing, and that's a good question, for Verse and Nomad and OnTime, the plan is that we will install that code for you as part of the Domino install. So you won't have to go and do a download and an install on top of your Domino server once you've done the Domino server install and setup. You'll just get it for free. All you'll need to do is the standard, turn it on and configure it like you would have done anyway. So follow the install instructions and configuration instructions that you would have seen in the default documentation, but the only difference is you don't actually have to deploy it onto your server. We've done that for you now.
Okay, and it says also, what is the status of AI integration into Notes, Mail, and Domino in general?
So interesting, we had this question yesterday at the user group. Yeah. We are absolutely actively looking at where AI can play a part in all of our software products. And in fact, Thomas and I were speaking with Jason Gary, the CTO of our innovation division, and we were talking to him about what AI can do for us and where it might fit. And they are already looking at AI and what it can do. So at the moment, we don't have any hard and fast plans for AI in Notes, although we have seen things like ChatGPT requests being fired from Notes already, and you can get that stuff back. But we are looking at what we can do with it. It's currently work in progress.
Yeah, I think we can share a demo of the integration between the Notes client and ChatGPT that our team pulled off. But the entire AI conversation may be worth another webcast. I'm just looking at the time and we have just 1 minute remaining for any last question. Dan?
Well, there's quite a few more that we haven't covered, but I think that we probably should close it out now just to give people a chance to get back to their real jobs. But we really want to thank everybody. We had a tremendous crowd today. It was great to see. The interest in Domino v14 is really huge. We did a poll. I'm going to share the results of the poll with everybody right now in terms of which version of Domino you're currently using. The majority on the call here are at Domino 12, some version of 12, which is really good. We're glad to see that. We know that our customers have been moving forward here, so just want to share that. But thank you for coming. We look forward to seeing you soon in our next webcast.
Thank you all.
Thanks. Bye.